What about these projections about what our population would look like in the next 2 years? I mean, we saw the Jobs Summit last year. We're talking about skilled migrants of 195,000, and that is a cap. But when you take in all the other aspects of migration, including visitor visas and people who end up staying here, the projections from Treasury are that it'll be about, almost 900,000 more people over the next 2 years. Is that a good thing?
Well, I think that the announcement today of an additional 650,000 people coming to Australia over the next 2 years has taken a number of people by surprise. Now, don't get me wrong, immigration has been a fundamental part of economic growth in Australia for decades, but it shouldn't be a panacea for economic growth. It can't be the only driver of economic growth. It does feel like the government's raised the white flag on productivity, which is the other really important driver of economic growth. And in fact, there was a Productivity Commission report that was dropped, I think it was only last Friday, that seems to have already been buried by Jim Chalmers as to how to properly drive productivity within our country without necessarily increasing the population through immigration to unsustainable levels. There is concern as to where we're going to house all these new immigrants. Are they going to be skilled migrants or students?
Yeah.
Or what is going to be that immigration mix? Are people going to come here on one visa and transfer to another kind of visa once they're here? So this does a properly managed immigration policy is really important for economic growth, but this doesn't seem to be managed. This seems to be haphazard and it seems to be instead of a proper plan on productivity and economic growth.
Well, there's a budget coming up. What should Jim Chalmers do in that budget?
Well, the first thing that we would like to see is a reduction in spending, a reduction on that structural spending side of the ledger. But
when it comes to population more specifically, do you have any ideas?
Well, I think that that's really up to the government as to the levers that they pull on population. We're not going to provide them an objective and a number, but certainly we want to make sure that there is more productive capacity in the economy, not less productive capacity. So what do you do to improve productivity? Well, you do things like you lower taxes, you reduce red tape, you make sure that life is easier for business, you lower energy prices, and in fact every decision that this government is making seems to be making it harder for business to do what it needs to do to expand productive capacity.
Two final ones about your state of Victoria. Daniel Andrews is in China at the moment. He's on a 4-day trip. He refused to take media with him or any kind of business delegation. The unions actually said without free and fair media reporting on this, it's almost akin to propaganda. What do you think about this trip and the excuses for not taking media along?
This is unprecedented behaviour. It really is extraordinary secrecy that we're seeing out of the Andrews government. No one really knows exactly what the purpose of this trip is, who it is that Daniel Andrews will be visiting and seeing while he is over there, what it is that he will be negotiating. Obviously, in the former government, the coalition government, there were limits put on the deals that had been done with the Victorian government as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Now that that has fallen by the wayside, I would imagine that Daniel Andrews would be looking to seek and secure some other arrangement, and I'm sure it's just beyond, it's beyond simply increasing the number of foreign students into Victoria. And the fact that we can't see what this is about, the fact that the press has been banned from attending, discouraged from reporting even, I think speaks volumes of the secrecy of this government. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this. There is behaviour from the Daniel Andrews government over the last number of years that has increasingly demonstrated a disdain for transparency, a disdain for integrity, and this just doubles down on that.
And I would add probably a disdain for some of us here in the media too, but perhaps a bit of self-reflection on my part, I don't know. Let me ask you quickly about the Aston by-election. The Fringe Fusion Party, Owen Miller, he's made some pretty unsavoury comments that don't bear repeating here. What should happen to a candidate like this? How should major parties like the Liberal and Labor Party deal with a candidate like this, given we just spoke about democracy and how important it is?
Some of the things that Owen Miller has been involved in, the things that he's tweeted out, have been totally vile. Things like, that abortion should be freely available even after birth. I mean, what does that mean? The implications are extraordinary. The fact that he thinks that we should question the Unabomber's motives and that be a little bit more sympathetic to what his motives might have been. This is really vile stuff. Once the Labor Party hears what this candidate what his positions are, surely you would preference him last. Instead, both Labor and the Greens have preferenced Owen Miller third on their ticket. They've preferenced him above Rashina Campbell, who is a barrister, a respected mother of three, who's done community work, who's done work on the Royal Commissions into the Black Saturday bushfires. The idea that you would preference this man above somebody like Rashina Campbell, who is so eminently qualified, I think speaks volumes of the contempt that the Labor Party and the Greens have for the voters of Aston, that they are saying essentially they would rather see someone like Owen Miller in our federal parliament than Rashina Campbell. I think that's pretty despicable.
Jane Hume, good to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Great to be with you.